Mourning is universal, but is a private emotion and for this reason can seem individual. Losing someone you love is one of the most emotionally devastating events that you can experience, and the road to dealing with grief can be a bewildering and lonely journey. But for a lot of us, there's no plan at all on how to handle the ebb and flow of how we feel in light of the tragedy. Unresolved grief can have devastating long-term effects, often resulting in different mental health issues, including depression, anxiety, and PTSD. The resource human agency I would create is called Lifeline of Love. This would house group therapies and counseling and support those who have lost a loved one and need new strategies to cope with this loss. This would be accessible to any human being, male, female, young, and old, because our vision is to build a safe place where in the cold walk of grieving a loved one who has passed on, we can feel understood. Our goal is to build a community where we can normalize grief support so that no one has to deal with this on their own, so that the door is maintained open for anyone with absolutely no stigma attached to be able to reach out and get help. Lifeline of Love is grief support services for those in need. The Grief Recovery Center is on a mission that we aim to accomplish by helping those who are grieving through psychotherapy, education, and outreach, helping to rebuild their future, a life with hope, strength, and resilience. Lifeline of Love will employ numerous tactics to assist the client in their grieving processes. If private sessions are more your style, we will have trained grief counselors or therapists on hand for individual counseling. Through these sessions, we will help people to sit with their emotions, normalize their experience, and navigate grief healthily. Therapists will be trained in CBT, narrative therapy, and mindful-based stress reduction. This will help them to provide psychoeducation to clients around grief and the model. For those who have encountered various types of losses, there will be several support groups. The Widows/Widowers Group Support Program is a place for all of those who have lost their spouse to be able to share their grieving processes and their strongest emotions. The Grief Support for Parents group will target the indescribable grief of parents who have suffered child loss, as well as the mental and emotional toll that grief takes on raising other living children. Our younger adult, and for any age, loss of a parent support group. This subgroup approaches specific concerns of this type of grieving, including identity changes and the relationship between generations when you lose a parent. Grief and Trauma Group. This group may be for you if your loved one died by suicide, overdose, or a violent, sudden type of death. Grief support will be combined with trauma-informed care. Each support group will be facilitated by either a therapist or a grief counselor and enable participants to discuss their feelings, learn from others, and provide mutual support in a structured setting. The groups are set to meet weekly, offering a constant place of healing. Grief in Children and Adolescents from HRMP, Parents and Family in General. Children and teens tend to grieve differently than adults do. Children's grief is often misunderstood and minimalized, but generational differences in the family can impact children's ability to express their bereavement. These programs will be tailored to the needs and wants of these grieving children and teens through Lifeline of Love. An example of this would be art therapy. So this provides the participants an opportunity to engage in a creative expression, which is a way that children can navigate through their emotions with something that feels a little less threatening than the traditional verbal therapy. Another one of these will be a loss and grief education project. This will help with explanations of death, grieving, and how to deal appropriately for kids and teenagers. It will also include peer groups to meet other kids or teens with similar issues and bond over that, just support each other. The sense of community from in-person events will be replaced with the educational aspect, like how to help a grieving friend or loved one or how to handle grief during life milestones. These guys will learn about coping skills, grief, and bereavement, support perspectives and healing, and the public will have access to these workshops. Lifeline of Love will offer crisis intervention services for those who lost someone due to suicide, finding themselves thinking about ending their life. This will entail crisis counseling, immediate referrals to support, and if necessary, liaising with local emergency services or hospitals. Lifeline of Love is the place where hope and understanding reside. Understanding that grief is a mind-body experience, the center will also offer wellness programs that focus on self-care for those who are grieving, yoga and meditation classes, mindfulness programs, exercise and nutrition education, and writing therapy. The staff at Lifeline of Love, there'd be a team focused on getting the right balance and support and care for people dealing with grief. There'd be opportunities for individual counseling from licensed therapists as well as group therapy. They're going to be licensed in marriage and family therapy, social work, or psychology with specialized training in grief and loss. Those trained will be able to work with individuals and or groups offering support and facilitating grief processing. There's going to be outreach programs, workshops, and events that are managed by program coordinators to make it accessible and approachable to reach the community in need of services that the center provides. The front end will be client intake, scheduling, billing, and records, which would be like an administrative person. The volunteers would be essential ingredient to keep everything working. Peer support, administrative assistance will also be largely taken over by volunteers. Volunteer grief mentors may receive training on grief, as well as providing emotional support and facilitating groups. Medical professionals like RNs and MDs who can deliver education on grieving psychology and how it affects your entire body will also be included. The program is funded in a variety of ways, including grants, donations, insurance, and fundraising events. Applications will be made for grants, including but not limited to federal, state, and local funds for mental health and grief services. The center will seek funding from places like the National Institute of Mental Health. More information to follow the Lifeline of Love fundraiser for individuals, local businesses, and faith-based organizations. Community funeral homes, hospices, and hospitals can also be a source of funding. Lifeline of Love offers services that will be mostly covered by health insurance, including Medicaid and private insurance sources. It helps maintain operations while giving customers a cost break. The center will hold annual fundraising events like charity walks, gala dinners, and auction opportunities in efforts to raise even more money. In addition to serving members of the public directly, Lifeline of Love seeks to use its prevention program as a platform for mental health promotion and grief support in the community. Through providing low-cost, culturally competent grief services, the center will help reduce stigma around grief and mental health challenges, while also ensuring that individuals feel empowered to seek support when they need it. Lifeline of Love will also push policy changes at the local and state levels to increase access to mental health care, including grief support services. The center will collaborate with other mental health outlets, schools, and workplaces to support the larger experiences of those who are grieving, as well as provide public education about how unattended grief can manifest down the line. Lifeline of Love will be a beacon through its services, outreach, and partnership, offering itself as a cornerstone of support for those grieving loss and act as an example of comprehensive grief care in the community.